heaven, for the sake of Israel and all Jerusalem, we'd like to dedicate the Torah and the merit of our study and the merit of our Torah to Raymond Rosentrader, to Darlene, Cody Lovejoy, Brooke Gibson, Paul Navarez, Jordan Matlis, Texas Oncology, Rita Wilson, H.L. and Betty Munkuski, Ruby Cesar, Yeshaya Peak, Maria Wanstaff, Elise Hagar, Nadine Freeman, Logan Willis, Billy Hope, Christopher Bedurka, Charles David, Noel Cardoza, David Douglas, Ibri Martin, Edna Kirk Driscoll, Abraham Moshe Ben Gilla, Juliette Williams, Larry Langberg, Blake Highland, Leela Briscoe, Brandon's family, Sam Peak, Yehuda Hyde Ben Matai Leah, Elvia Rosas, James London, David Jenkins, Jake Suarez, Bobby Williams Sr., Mrs. Brock, Kim Greenwood, the Rogers family, Mrs. Cummings, Carol Gibson, Zilbian Woodard, Damian Washington, Carol Scott, Ty Harrington, Maurice Greenwood, Gracie Bill Linder, Hodasa Odom Martin, Frank Pollard, Miranda Rosas, Carol's family, Baby Denard, Kimberly Brown, Debbie January, Kim Lively, Crispin Rodriguez, Alexander, son of Jamie Justice, Gustavo De Leon, Virgil Williams, the daughter of Jeremy Adams. You ready, Russell?
Oh, we're already cooking.
We're rolling. Ruler of the universe and master of all masters, Father of mercy and forgiveness, we thank you, our God and the God of our fathers, by bowing down and kneeling, that you brought us closer to your Torah and your holy word, and how you enable us to take part in the secrets of your holy Torah. How worthy are we that you grant us with such a big favor. That is the reason we plead before you, that you will forgive and acquit all of our sins, that they should not bring separation between you and us. May it be your will before you, our God and the God of our fathers, that you will awaken and prepare our hearts to love and revere you, and may you listen to our utterances and open our closed heart to the hidden studies of your Torah. And may our study be pleasant before your place of honor as an aroma of sweet incense, and may you emanate to us light from the source of our soul to all of our being. May the sparks of your holy servants, through which you revealed your wisdom to the world, shine. May their merit and the merit of their fathers and the merit of their Torah and holiness support us, so we shall not stumble through our study. And by their merit enlighten our eyes in our learning, as stated by King David, the sweet singer of Israel. Open my eyes so that I will see wonders from your Torah. Because from his mouth God gives wisdom and understanding. May the utterance of my mouth and the thoughts of my heart find favor before you, God, my strength and my Redeemer. Amen.
Amen.
All right. What we like to do in our class is take Torah, which is truth. So if Torah is truth, then that means it's facts. Now, when you're dealing with facts on a three-dimensional level, it's really concretized. It's really a this thing, and it's really a this thing, and it's really a this thing. But and we're studying Torah in a 3D realm, but we're not studying it from that mindset. You know, we try to take it up. Okay, what does it look like in Yitzhak? What does it look like in the garden? And we've kind of gotten to a point now where what does it look like above that? And what is it looking like from Ak? And so sometimes Peshat is Peshat, but then there's a Sod of the Peshat, you know? But then, you know, you start getting up and you find things that are floating around up here, and they're great ideas. And you're studying topics and they're great things, but at some point it has to fit in a Peshat on a level so that it makes sense all the way down. All right? And because both ends are the same strand. All right? You may have Peshat on one end and Sod on the other. And so if you're telling a story, if you're telling such a high story, you do have to break it down. And so one of the things that is Messiah to Joseph is the seven sciences. Science is so factual, you know. This boils at this temperature. This does this. This does that. So we have to use the tools of the seven sciences, because that is redemption of Messiah ben Joseph. Right? Well, once you get so far into that, now you're at string theory and M theory, and you're up in the physics and the calculus and the math of everything, and black holes and false vacuums and everything that we've been talking about. And so now that's where we're at. So take our consciousness and let's put our consciousness there, and let's look down from 5D to 4D, and we're going to view it from God. And I'm going to try to, because when we're reading the things in the Zohar, when we're studying the words of the sages, these guys are looking at it from that point of view, and they're writing it to their colleagues who are on that level, looking at it at that point of view. They're not saying words and doing these things for somebody who is an idiot, And so one of the things that since we're right here in the Nakash and Hava and Adam, and we're right here in this section, there's parts that say, okay, that Sam injected his filth into Lilith, and this contaminated Hava, and then that contaminated Adam, and so we've gone through this, and we've broken it all up, and we've looked at all the little pieces, okay? And all of a sudden, the Nakash is just on the scene. Well, we've kind of went through that and kind of shown how this whole projectional dimensionality of Leviathan, of Da'at, of Nakash, makes its way. Each time the thought of Ak goes out and it hits its dimensionality expansion, it forms a membrane. And another one, and another one. And these membranes are at some level semi-permeable. You can pass through and pass through. As it gets down toward what we're going to call the radiation fallout, or the klipa, it's got built-in mechanisms so that it can't get in, right? And in that realm is where we start seeing our patriarchs and matriarchs, because they're doing the work. Now, they're not doing work in 3D. Mitzvah, tikkun, is not. We're in 3D. We're doing work in 3D. That's not what it is. Those mitzvahs are coming from such a high truth, delivered down. They're working from up here. It just needs a coordinate here to hit. And the coordinate here does it for there. It's not doing it here to here. It's doing it from there to here, back to there. All right? So, this is God's whole plan. He's trying to create a vessel, a coordinate, to receive the light in order for it to give the light back. Fix it, send it back. Send the signal back. Right? So it's Adam that's really doing it. So that is the essence of free will. The free will is receive, send back. Because without anything to receive it, there's no will. It's static. But the signal comes back. So what we think about free will is we think, oh, God gave us free will to do whatever it is we want to do, to choose whatever it is we want. That's not the case. What happens is when we don't do what free will is designed to do, and we do 3D for the sake of 3D, that is the definition of klipa. It doesn't matter that it can spill over into 3D, like charity. You receive, you give. It's the same principle, That's 4D actually working in 3D. It's really not 3D working in 3D. So, we know that this part of Torah, is a critical tzimtzum. We have complete Hasidim, Adam, containing complete Guvarot, Hava. And that the Guvarot is drawn out. That's a tzimtzum. Alright? So, in the Bahir, I was reading this week, and Ari Kaplan there, he says, here's the basic 101 of how God works. He has thesis, right, which is your expansion light. Then he has to create an antithesis, something completely opposite. He's got light, he's got to have dark. This is Guvarot. But then he has to create a third mechanism, which is called synthesis. Brings it back together. We call it in here the dance of Hasidim and Guvarot. Okay? So what happens in our story is the Nakash is the essence of synthesis. He's the thing that's actually bringing Adam and Hava back together to create balance. Now, we know there's some off-skewed things here, right? That we know there's some contamination here, but we know that a teak has to look into this. The upper level, Zah and Nook, have to look in this because they're in union. Well, if they're in union, Adam and Hava are looking up going, well, if that's in union, boom. Because that's what it does. All right? But it is and always has been the centrality of this deal, Da'at, Nakash, two-tailed Leviathan, two-tailed Ouroboros, that is the synthesis of right and left. All right? So, now I'm gonna go through our notes here, and I just kind of want to give you an overview of how I'm thinking as I'm going through this. We have thesis, antithesis, synthesis down this whole thing until it gets to a point where it's a specific coordinate of Abraham, and then Guvarot, Isaac, and then it starts making specific coordinate. But it's all working in Partsuf. So if it's working in Partsuf here, it's working in Partsuf all the way up. And one of the things that really got me was, okay, why would Ak or a Teak send Sam down to check this out? And Sam is one of the highest. I got an echo. Is one of the highest angels. I got a bad echo on your side, Travis. He's one of the highest angels, and he's going down to check this out. And it says that Sam found the Nakash, basically searched out all the animals, found the Nakash, found it was suitable to ride, and rode it like a type of camel. Right? Okay? So, and then this whole thing about Sam and Lilith is, and that whole deal that we've covered, and it says that the serpent, the reason it was called a camel, because I was like, why didn't they pick a horse? Why did the sages decide, well, if you're just going to ride something, I'd ride a horse. We don't have camels over here. Or a donkey. If you're going to use Guvarot, donkey's really good. But a camel is a quasi-kosher looking thing. But then it hit me. There's a hump. And a camel. And so what are they trying to describe? And then it said he chose it because when the serpent walked upright on its legs, its neck was like that of a camel. And when you start going through all this stuff that you read, you study the Zohar and the Leshem and all these different places, what's going on. Now, the best mental picture that I can give you is going to be always the most basic. We have straight light, bifurcation, right? Tree of knowledge, good and evil, right? Well, this has to bend around, form straight light again, right? This is Simpson. Straight light, curve light, straight light, curve light, straight light, curve light. This is how the Or, En, Sof moves. Straight light, curve light. The dance of Hasidim, Guru wrote. Hasidim, next one, Guru. And so we're gonna illustrate this by a sine wave, right? Contraction, expansion, contraction, expansion, contraction, expansion. This is science. We have the models now to use. They didn't know what a sine wave was, right? Never heard of a sine wave. But they've heard of a camel, right? So we have to put ourselves in their shoes and figure out, what are they talking about? All right? So that's what I tried to do here. And if we take the pieces that we know and apply Josephic mentality to Davidic structure, we got it. That's synthesis. All right? Because the Josephic part is what is trying to put it together. It's trying to take all these things and put it back together. So, when we use this form, we take emotion and feeling out of it, and that we can develop a universal system of truth. You know, Kabbalah is, and I'm going to use this term very loosely, the ultimate Scientology, where you can truly take all science that is here and lay the Torah right on top of it, and it's one big pie. They're nothing separate. And we've proven that all the way through every partial we've ever studied. Through Noah, it doesn't matter. With dinosaurs, it doesn't matter. We can explain it all, right? So, science has truth, but Torah has wisdom. And so, if we put these two together, we have it. We use the wisdom of the Torah and the essence of science, and we can explain every single thing that we come across, or at least we try to. So, my next section here is part doing tikkun. Is it us doing tikkun, or is it Adam doing tikkun? We think it's scientific, but to him it's just truth. It just is, right? 3D can't fix 3D. 3D cannot fix 4D. We have to turn it around. 4D is fixing 3D. The Merkava of the prophets and the patriarchs and everything they were doing is becoming a docking station for Adam to do his work. So that's why we say, well, this is just Gilgal of Adam. It's even more than that. It is Adam, because it is his docking station, right? And so when they go in, what they see, oh, it's Adam on the throne. Oh, Jacob. Oh, Adam. Oh, it just keeps going. Adam after Adam after Adam after Adam after Adam. Membrane after membrane after membrane after membrane, right? Till we can understand it. So, what we have to do is understand the reality that it is in. and not the reality that we are in, because the reality we are in is not reality at all. And that's a big statement. Now that we can deal with Ak, now that we can deal with Yehida, the crown of the Yud, this is Messiah. You want to know what Messiah is? It's Adam Kadmon. More specifically, Yesod of Adam Kadmon. Right? What is that? Nakash. Holy of holies. Nakash. Right? That's the center thing. That's why Nakash is 358 and Messiah is 358, Gematrias, respectively. Because of thesis, antithesis, it has to produce both immediately. It has to produce Messiah and Nakash immediately. One of the things God created before He created everything was Messiah. Guess what? He had the Nakash is only the other part. So it produces both by definition. It is literally creating, now hold on to this loosely, 3D the other gods. It's literally creating the other gods. But what it's saying is, don't look at it and don't give it reality. That's Avodah Zoa. It'll kill you. And remember in Raiders of the Lost Ark, and they were fixing to take the Ark of the Covenant. You know, what does he say? Miriam, close your eyes. Don't look at it. It'll kill you. Because you don't see it here. It's not, you get it here, it's a bad deal. See, that is a really good visual of what we're talking about. You know? Now, there's only one guy that was able to go in and see anything like that. The high priest. And he had, because he was going interdimensionally when he was going in there. You know, and he had to be certain kind of person with certain kind of things. And he was, because this is something that it has created up against itself that is the secret of basically the first commandment. Don't have any other gods upon my face, upon my parsufim, upon my membrane that I've created. Don't put that right there. Right? So this is literally Ak speaking all the way down through. Now, what it's telling us is don't look at it. And we have to say, well, don't look at us looking at it. You know? All right, we're not going to look at it, but don't look at us looking at it, because then you're looking at it too. Then the whole thing is messed up. And so I named this section, Here's Looking at You, Kid. Because kid is Na'ar, Metatron. And that's the thing that's doing it. Right? So we get to a section in this, and she saw that the tree was good for food. And so I was kind of going for, and their eyes were open. And they saw. So I said, okay, what is that iteration from Ak? If there's a seeing, if there's a looking, if there's a whole this thing going on, then there must be the same thing going on above. And I said, well, it fits. We can make we can jump to a higher sod and make that Peshat fit. The emanations, the first emanations are the emanations of the eyes. Right? I'm inside. There's the first emanations of the eyes. They're seeing. Abba, Adam, Sag, Abba. Hasidim and Guvarot. And they saw, and their eyes were open. Well, what happened next? The shattering of Nekadim. The fall. You see, how the iteration is going, because we have to explain this sequence in Genesis as only a lower production of a higher truth. Something had it's following it, what I call its fault line. It's following its fault line. So they saw this is 5D Peshat to a 4D Peshat to a 3D. So when God says, Adam, where are you? Does God not know where Adam is? He doesn't know. Because it's 5D. Oh, and now it's here. And now it's here. And now it's here. Because he's not in that. Right? Now obviously, we know he knows, but what he's saying is, where are you in this area? You're not. You're now beyond this. Now you're in this area. Okay? So God succeeded in passing himself. He succeeded in extending himself beyond himself to where for a moment he didn't know. For a moment he created something completely other than himself. Right? So the nakash is the synthesis in doing all this. Nakash has a nun. A nun, a small nun, has curves, just like the nakash. But when the nakash falls, it gets elongated, and it's elongated nun. Right? So we have this whole Leviathanic movement, this whole Da'at movement where it splits and it comes back together. So where we're at in this story is right here. This is enter the Nakash zone, at the apex of curved Guvurot light, of coagulated Guvurot, of points of furthest from himself, which is the furthest spot in himself. Enter Nakash, right? And so if we draw our Leviathanic deal, this is the lip. This is the lip. Now, in a minute, we're gonna discuss Sam in this whole deal. And so we talked about this before in this class. We have in the whole Metatronic structure, what is this part called? This part is called Sandal foam, right? Sandal foam. The center structure is Metatron, and the top structure is a Catriel, which is basically coming from Ak. This is the Enoch part. All right. Now, if we Samic, Mem, El. What does Samic, Mem, El spell? Samael. So we see that the Nakash and Sam are way more connected than you ever imagined. All right, we're gonna get there. So these 5 verses contain the true sod of the Simpson and how we can map it out. This is the harsh Guvurot speaking to the Guvurot. The contaminated Nakash speaking now to Hava. Now, think about this. If God is making Adam and Hava, He's making them what? Male and female. If He's making, that's thesis. He's making antithesis, what does it have to be? Male and female. Right? And so, when the union, when the Guvurot are enticed or seduced by the cunning Nakash, which is when the Guvarot are excited to now make the next Tsimtsum, it's going to produce the whole Adam Lilith, the whole Sam Hava. You see how it works? Because if it's both over here, it's both over here. Even though this was taken out over here, this still has to contain both. So, does not the Nakash Sam look male and female? It says that Sam had 12 wings and was the highest seraphim of all. He and his group were sent down. And it picked the Nakash because it was wise. Wise is Hokmah. Relative to the Guvarot. Right? And its appearance was a type or kind of camel. And it rode on it. Now, the Torah cried out, the world has just been created, and it's an inopportune time to rebel against it. So, riding on it is zivug. To ride on it is zivug. The Torah said, crush the rider and its horse. It's possessed by evil. Now, Sam means poison of God. It means a drug or an elixir. But it can also be neutral. It can mean the drug of death or the drug of life. So, the whole sin crouches at your door thing, the sin is crouching at the door. What's that? That's Malchut. That's the entry point. Who guards that? Sam. What is he? Angel of death. So over here, he's causing the whole thing, and over here, he's the one God uses as executioner. Both functions. So, is it wicked? Is it evil? Absolutely. Relative to complete holiness. But did he not create it for that purpose? Absolutely. So, the Samic Mem is Sandalphon Metatron. This is the circuit that got turned inside out on the backside. It's 100% backside energy. Now, what is this whole thing that it's riding on? Remember we said back before, the Zohar says that Azah and Azazel were supposed to be the chariot of the female. These Guvarot heavy angels that fell out. Okay? These are Netzach and Hod. These are the union. This is the Lilith aspect. The heavy gravity with Sam. This is literally, if you want to call it, the ovarian aspect of Lilith. Of her Netzach and Hod. Okay? So, when the Nakash walked on its hind feet, it had a long neck of a camel, or appearance of a camel. But when you look at the Shema, not the Shema, but the Amidah, you have to go down like a staff and come up like a serpent. Right? And it straightens that which is bent. So on the Amidah, is it straightened that which is bent, which is clearly talking about a serpentine structure. So, it said it was prepared to be ridden like a camel. The whole Gimel word, the Gamel, is Hokman of the Sitra Akra. This is the naked in cunningness. if it's spelled with an E, cammel, this is Sam. This is what Sam is writing on. What is it? It is the da'at. He is writing on the da'at. What is it? It's the left side. It's just the left. It's just the left side. It's that one curvature. It's that hump, that camel. Why does it have legs? What are legs in this class? What are legs? Her feet descend to death.
Netzach and Hod.
Netzach and Hod. And what is Netzach and Hod? Azah and Azazel. So you see what's going on. This Sam, he's got 12 wings. If you got 6 wings, 2 cover your face, 2 cover your body, 2 cover your legs. But he's got two sets. All right? 6 Yesod, 6 Yesod. He's this antithesis. Right? Michael's the other side. So he's riding this Guvarot. He's riding the sine wave. And the chariot that he's using is Azah and Azazel. Which the only way to explain that is Sam descended and rode the camel, and the serpent had legs. That's how you would have to explain it without a light string theory sine wave model. Makes perfect sense. So now we see what the mind of God is doing. He's got to create. He's got all this Guvarot. Now he's got to. And yes, it's making him. It's the furthest thing from him now, so to speak. It's the closest thing to the contamination. And so it makes a union up here, shuts the door. Upper gone is safe. Lower gone, because it's in. Right? So, this Sam takes over the Nakash. There's a whole deal about the big Vav and the little Vav. And so what you have is the big aspect is the seraphim. The lower aspect is the chayot. And the orphim, those are pulled into a siyah. That's why it doesn't, in this section, when it's talking about it, it doesn't mention it. It just says the seraphim and the chayot. Him and his buddies. Because as this thing is pulling down, it's pulled the other ones down into a siyah. They don't even mention the orphim. So we can see the progression of the... And Sam is going down because it is going down. The projectional dot is moving. So, but it's describing it from an angelic point of view. With an animal point of view, with the whole thing. It's just going through its levels. So, this is the Simpson happening. So, Hashem has made a boundary. Then he seduces itself further to hide itself further, making a directional limit line that it doesn't actually have. But only for a second it can have it. It can't do it from the inside, so it must do it from the other side. Right? So the story is told from 2 axis points. The backside axis point and the front side axis point. It is trying to create another view. Our view is 2D, 3D, 4D, 5D. Its view is 4D, 5D. It doesn't have a 3D view. It doesn't have a 3D view. Don't put that on here. That's a simulation. Don't put that on my face. Don't put that up to 4D. It's outsmarting itself. The nakash is the membrane. You shall have no other gods before my face. This is Ak. It's first point of contact that is transmitting through all things. What is Ak talking about his face? He's talking about that membrane, that level there. What do? They take Metatron, they take Nakash, they take everything and they make a god out of it. And they pray to it, and it elevates their deal. It does everything on the backside except that they make it a god. Instead of using it on the front side as the whole Merkava channel. Ak is 4D and up. Don't put 3D on me. A Bodazoa is putting 3D on 4D. That's what it is. So, what is God trying to do? He's trying to walk into the mirror backwards. Don't look at the mirror. He walks in it backwards. There is no other side of the mirror. Right? It's just this side. Don't make that image in the mirror reality. That's his deal. Don't make Adam look from the outside in. This whole membrane, this is string theory. So 5D is transparent. 4D is transparent. 3D is opaque. And we know that when we're talking about Daniel, Ezekiel, Isaiah, and Moses, where they prophesied from, some of them prophesied from a very clear membrane. Some of them prophesied from a very opaque membrane. You know? There's the whole will effect, which is the whole Merkava effect. Alright? So, how do we know this membrane and this transparency? How do we make it Peshat? Fingernails. There's proof. This anatomical, scientific proof. It was a membrane. You turn it inside out, it made a skin. Right? I will not contend with flesh any longer. You know? So, when all these membranes are together, that is Da'at. That is unified Da'at. But when you separate it out, it creates dualities. The whole dialogue that's going on here is the key. Atzilut is the point called the Malchut of the Ein Sof. From the Keter of it to its Malchut. Now, if you think of it, we have a huge piece of cellophane right here. Okay? And I'm going to pinch it in the middle, and I'm going to pull it all the way out to so I'll make a cone. Right? This point, right out here, is Malchut. This point, it's Keter. Malchut, Keter. Inside, what's pushing the cellophane out on the inside? Holy Nakash Mashiach. Right? Mm-hmm. What is on the outside? Nakash Sam. Contamination. Thesis, antithesis. Right? Hasidim, Guvaro. Tzimtzum. Right? Atzilut, Asiya. But it's contained in the very middle. Right? So if we look at our see if I thought I had one printout somewhere in here. There it is. Inside, outside. Telling the story from inside, it's one thing. Tell the story from outside, it's another. Depending on which way you're looking at it. It's a not thing. Okay? So, the cunning of the serpent is the only impossibility of the Ein Sof to become a single point. to make its single. It's actually making a singularity, but it has to do it multiple times. Earth. That's what it's doing. It is a point that has no point. Something from nothing. It is Guverot itself at a limit point. This is how it measures himself. This is the Metatron and its lip called Sandalphon. This is what it is. Metatron is the medium system that it delineates itself. It's the measuring rod, measuring stick. And then the fleshy lip of the end of our deal, the end, Sandalphon. And so when you push this from every direction, Elijah is Sandalphon, right? He's everywhere. He's in everything. He's at every single mitzvah, right? He's at every single feast. He's at every Shabbat. He's everywhere because that's what's here. A Catriel's not there, but he is, by extension.
Is that like all the Malchuts touching?
Yeah, it's like all the Malchuts are here. And they're really not touching. There's a little membrane into them. Just like if you look under a microscope at all the atoms, none of them are touching. Their own little universes of their own self. They got their own nucleus, their own electrons, their own mitochondria, their own everything. It's pure Messiah ben Joseph science. They're not actually touching. If you zoom out, it's a person. And that's what we have to do, the prot and the cloud. We have to always go this way, that way. All right? So, the Nakash is just tricking itself. Have you ever seen one of those flip books where everything in the book is a static drawing, and if you flip it real fast, it's animated? Mm-hmm. This is what it's doing. It's making this page, this page, this page, this page. But when it looks at it, it's all in motion. It's a flip book. You know? And so what it has to do, it has to go, okay, left hand, right hand, Hasidim, Guverot, right? Here's my Guverot. Here's my Hasidim, right? But for a moment, just for a moment, it goes, and then it does it again. That's what it's doing. It's hiding itself from itself just for a moment, but it has to make such a contaminated or klipa ring that just for a second it can be hidden from itself. It can create something new just for a split second. So and what the problem is right now, it's got itself in a knot. It's got itself in a major knot. The problem is it cannot make can God make a permanent knot that he can't undo? No. Right? Now, what's interesting was when I was going through this, I was thinking, okay, it's a knot. So you're lacing up a shoe and you tie a knot in the top of it. Right? It's a pretty secure permanent knot. Unless you pull the two strings. Then it's not a knot at all. Right? That's 3D. But he's going, look, 3D, it's not a real knot. Watch. It's gone. What was Enoch's job? What was his occupation?
Cobbler?
Yeah. And he was stitching up the fabric of creation. Tying in a knot. That's Metatron. That's the top. That's the moching of the whole thing. That's what this whole deal is about. He's got himself in a knot that he can untie. The problem is, it's Guverot, and it's tight, and it's condensed, and it's painful, and it's a struggle. And that's where he's at. To be or not to be? That's God's question. That's like I am that I am. To be or not to be, right? And it's not of this, and it's not of that. The ought is the not. The ought is the thing he uses that makes the not. To be outside of itself for just a second. When it does that, it has just added a whole nother dimension. Not just a world, an entire dimension. Every time it does it. And it's been doing it for never not. K-N-O-T, not. For never not, never not. But it's at its innermost limit. In other words, it's pulled it as far as it can possibly pull it. The stimulation of this guvarot is what makes the knot. That's the ot. Nakash, guvarot, hava, back together, synthesis, union, knot, new dimension. Out of Atzilut Beria. You see it. Right? This is why Hasidim cannot be involved in this. So what does God say? Adam, where were you? Because see, the big question is, if somebody is seducing my wife, right? Where am I? Where was I during this whole thing? If Adam's in the garden and there's only three people, let's say three people there, Adam, Hava, and the Nakash, how did Adam let it all get away with this? Adam is Hasidim. It's Simsu. It's at its furthest point. Right? They had been separated, so to speak. It's Hasidim and Guvrot is stretched and it's fixing to make a knot. You know, you take two strings and you're trying to stitch up your shoe. At one point, this end of the string and that end of the string are so far apart. That's the furthest part of closeness they can possibly be. And as it stitches it up, they get closer and closer. Union. Boom. New dimension. So, of course, in the Peshat, he says, and we read the Peshat and he says, Adam, where are you? You know? Oh, I'm over here. Right? Well, it sounds so Sunday school stupid. You mean Adam didn't know what was going on? Are you kidding me? You mean God didn't know where Adam was? You know, the whole thing. But if you think about it, in the cosmic physics of what's happening, it fits the Peshat perfectly. Messiah and Joseph. This is the highest level of pure Hug. This is why the story looks so ridiculous. It just looks so ridiculous. This is how the seven sciences can explain this entire happenings. This is how you go up and elevate the level of Messiah ben Joseph and connect it with Messiah ben David. This is what's going on with the Torah. Kabbalah is the science of truth with the seven truths of science. Joseph goes down to Egypt. Why? Get the seven sciences. The essence. So Moses goes down. He's going to take everybody out. Well, he's got to take the bones of Joseph out too, because that's the essence of the seven sciences. They get all that, they're going to have an absolute experience. What does everybody want? An absolute experience. Well, when we use the knowledge that we have with the wisdom of the Torah, we can figure this stuff out. It doesn't have to be such a la-la story, such a Sunday school story, and then we read the Zohar and we go, well, they say he rode him like a camel. And it seems so, there was camels in the garden? You know? It seems so, but no. It's perfect. It's beautiful. It's so simple when you have the map. So, it's all about upper da'at and lesser da'at. Drawing the Guvurot points to the center light. Yes, it creates a false unity, which is Sam and Lil. But it's trying to accelerate the tikkun process. That's all God's trying to do. But Adam comes in, he's trying to save her. That's why they get back together. He knows the only way to burn out any contaminated Guvurot is with pure Hasidim light. You know? He has it figured out. The Gra, the Gaon of Vilna says, Hava, her original desire was for wisdom. And now, her desire is going to be for her husband. So, it says, it calls it the curse, her curse. Think about that. Hokmah, her original desire was for wisdom. So Ema's original desire is for Abba. Makes sense? On the lower level, her desire, he didn't change up the formula. Now your desire is going to be for your husband. But it's at a lower level, so it's curse. And we can draw it like this. This is really the way it should be drawn. Your original desire is for wisdom, Abba. But now, you know, everything's going this way. But now, since we're expanding and we're bringing out Guvurot, your desire is going to be for your husband. Zah and Nook, lower. Up, now it's this way. You see? Now it's got to be elevated. Now it's got to be this. It's got to be stimulation from below. Now it's got to be mitzvah. Now it's got to be all this way. What did he do? He just made a coordinate to give so that it could receive. He finally got the vessel that didn't shatter, so that it could give it back. Because heaven runs on the Torah that we give back. That's what it runs on. What does God need? That. What do you buy a billionaire for birthday? What do you give God? The guy that has everything and doesn't need anything? That one thing. This is how the Ein Sof is setting up the delivery system. Is what he's doing. So the guys, the Gra is saying the higher is Guvurot and Hesed. The curse is now to Adam. What's left? Sam falls from a higher place. So, let's put it in Peshat. Sam. At first it was like this. Right? And now it's like this. What's our Guvurot girl's name right here?
Leah.
Leah. What's our Guvurot girl's name right here? Rachel. Where did they come from?
Levon.
Uh-oh. Levon, who was a righteous man. He was like Wicked Sam. Right? He was the idol worshiper of idol worshipers. The patriarchs, Abraham and Isaac, are sending none other than Eleazar, the cool gear dude, Og, right, over here to get these precious little nuggets of guru. That's how we can go from Ak to Asiya. And the story fits the whole way. So, the Torah is amazing, and the sages are amazing, and we'll see you next week on Torah from Texas.